Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Wednesday. We'll speak on all that. Snow and a very small risk of severe weather will be the biggest topics for the next 24 hours. We'll talk about how much snow could fall, get very detailed, just like we always do for the Northeast, the Great Lakes region, on how much snow could fall over the next 24 to 48 hours. After we speak on today's forecast, and of course we will ooze a little bit into our Thursday, we'll start to break down what's to come. There's multiple things to speak on, so everything will be broken up in timestamps for you guys that, jump ahead if you need to. I don't take any offense to that at all. That's why I take the time to put those timestamps up. But we got a quick-hitting winter storm to really kind of round off our work week. That's going to bring a stripe of accumulating snow for a large portion of the northern tier of the lower 48. And we'll have a couple days of severe weather, including the day out ahead of us. But then we have the potential for a powerful storm system late this weekend into early next week that could really bring some big-time impacts to the western and especially the central U.S. And kind of mixed in between all that, before that, we'll speak on a coastal low also that will probably wreck a lot of people's weekend plans across the eastern U.S. So there's a lot of small things to talk about, a lot of big things to talk about, and we'll break it all down in great detail for you guys, just like we always do. I will have a video tonight. I won't leave you guys hanging, even though I lied to you. Monday morning, we will do it all again tonight, but we'll really just focus in on what's to come for the future. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So talking about what's going on out there right now, we do have snow flying around across the Northeast. Some areas it's just raining. Another push of cold air will move in over the next 24 hours. It's snowing pretty good in southern Ontario. Lake effect snow in the UP of Michigan. Even still some snow flying around in lower Michigan. Little piece of energy right here in the middle of the country and kind of in the Midwest. I don't think a lot of this is really hitting the ground, if any at all. But this definitely is beginning to hit the ground. You see this energy coming out of Canada. This is the beginning stages, at least for the lower 48, of this quick hitting snow event. And, I think enough snow will fall from this system you see to issue some winter storm warnings across areas of like Wisconsin maybe. And maybe some areas in surrounding states. We need to watch this. This could bring some intense snow for not a long duration period, but it could snow pretty good with this. And we'll speak on that in the timestamps to come later in this video. But we definitely are going to have the potential for a line, almost a convective element today in the Northeast. We very well could get thunder snow in the Northeast today, and I'll speak on that. The western U.S. is pretty quiet. We're starting to lose the influence of this pesky cutoff low that's been just spinning around down here for a long time here in the Southwest. So the Storm Prediction Center today, we do have that general risk of thunderstorms in the Northeast. And guys, I'm telling you, we could have some claps of thunder, some flashes of lightning up here with some snow, and then some of it might not be snow. I think, and we'll talk more on this when we get to the Northeast panel, I think we actually will have kind of a line associated with a cold front of, it could be rain, could be snow, that could make its way through a lot of areas of the interior Northeast. Definitely could be an interesting day in the Northeast today. And then we got basically like a bimodal mode here in the South Central U.S. One marginal risk right here, one down here. I think there's higher confidence that some storms will get going in western Oklahoma and areas of northern and the panhandle of Texas. Down here, this is more of a conditional threat. And I think if any storms do fire up down here around Houston, south of Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, where you have that level 1 out of 5 risk, I think it'll happen after midnight tonight. And I do think we'll have widespread thunderstorms for tomorrow, and we'll talk on tomorrow's risk in this video also. The excessive rainfall outlook is below 5%. Don't have to worry about flash flooding today, I don't think. Watches, warnings, and advisories. There are frost advisories right now across the Deep South, just not showing up on your screen. We do have those winter storm warnings ongoing right now for areas kind of in the eastern sections of Lake Ontario, kind of the Tuck Hill Plateau region. And we do have winter storm watches up for what's to come for areas of Maine, the down east areas of Maine, all the way up to Caribou and northern Maine. And then we have those winter weather advisories surrounding those winter storm warnings. One winter weather advisory for the county Erie's in, and then some winter weather advisories in northern lower Michigan and the eastern half of the UP in Michigan. And then some winter weather advisories are up for this snow moving in right now across northern and really just northeastern sections of Montana. Some winter storm warnings up for the Rockies in Montana also. Let's talk about the southeast first. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Today, a beautiful day in the southeast. The cold air is really bottled up to the north. A nice spring day for the southeast. You're warming up after a pretty chilly start this morning. When we take it to midday, nothing's going on this afternoon, this evening. We could get some showers that are possible to maybe even likely in northern Arkansas today, but they'll diminish as we get later into tonight, and then we'll take it all the way to tomorrow morning. And just a nice day across the southeast. There's nothing to speak on, no reason to really spend a long time on this. Now the northeast, not super active right now. We do have some snow showers around, but check out what happens later this morning as we kind of take it to about lunchtime. Another cold front kind of surges in, kind of rejuices the cold air, if you will. That didn't make any sense, but really gets the cold air going again. And we do have some snow showers up here in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. But check out this more consolidated area of snow that gets going. Anything kind of ahead of this area in blue is kind of mashing with the green and blue, which means you have kind of a rain-snow mix. Not as much cold air right here yet. But as we get this going, we're getting into the middle of the afternoon. Check out this line. You see these little, and you got to look really hard depending on what you're watching this on, but there's areas of yellow and even orange right in here. That is a line. We could have some snow squall warnings today. We really could. And look at these. Look at these kind of wisping lines of snow moving through Ontario and areas of Canada further north and, Michigan. And we keep this going. And I'm telling you, if you live pretty much anywhere in New York State, all the way into the Berkshires, all the way into like Vermont, New Hampshire, this thing you might hear some rumbles of thunder with this, some flashes of lightning with this line that kind of moves in. So it kind of starts in western New York State later this morning, moves out of Ontario, and then it kind of makes its way through New York State, maybe even northern sections of Pennsylvania throughout the afternoon. And then by the time we get into this evening, kind of a low pressure begins to develop and really amplifies and becomes the snow and precipitation becomes a lot more widespread. Behind this, we continue to have a feed of just on and off snow showers. Won't accumulate to a ton just because it's on and off. It's not just steady accumulating snow, but we will just have additional couple inches of snow, and certainly could add to a little bit of some. Sorry for clearing my throat so much. Would add to some additional snowfall totals out there. But you see this low pressure here. This is getting going. And then by the time we get into tonight, guys, you got an all-out quick-hitting winter storm for areas and really just for Maine, really. But this low pressure is kind of tracking inland, kind of moving over the down east areas of Maine. But it could snow pretty intensely right in this area in Maine right here. You got this 988 millibar low. This is later tomorrow morning before the sun comes up. It's snowing pretty good in the state of Maine. Down east areas could get what you call a dry slot most likely. But, this lasts all the way through tomorrow morning. And by the time we're into tomorrow afternoon, this is heading on off into Canada. And then I think things quiet down for a day or so here in the north. Now, talking about how much snow could fall from this event, kind of that widespread look, that broad look. As you can tell, most of the heaviest snow is going to be up here in eastern and central Maine. But let's go on and take a look at some individual graphics. Cleveland, not much more snow today. Erie, another 3 to 4 inches of snow is possible over the next, I would say, 30 to 36 hours. This goes all the way out through about 8 p.m. Thursday. So there could be another system that moves in later this week into this weekend. We'll talk more on that here in a second. Corey, 4 to 6 inches of snow, but pause the screen if you need to. The Buffalo area all the way up to the Tuck Hill Plateau. Just widespread anywhere from 1 to as much as 4 inches of snow, depending on where you live. Very widespread totals. But as always, pause the screen if you need to. And then we take it down to the Binghamton region. Binghamton, maybe an inch, maybe less, maybe a little more. But widespread 1 to 3 inch snowfall totals here in the southern tier of New York. And, a small section of the Finger Lakes. Not a whole lot, but with just this band of snow that's going to move through this area, you could get a quick 1 to 2 inches of snow that could fall pretty fast today. Definitely could be some crazy weather here in New York State. We take it up to the Adirondacks and then the entire state of Vermont between now and just tomorrow morning. Okay, so the next 24 hours basically, widespread 1 to 2 inches, maybe as much as 4 or 5 inches of snow in certain areas, kind of south of the Malone region. I think that's how you pronounce it. But not a whole lot. Stowe could get 2 inches of snow. The valley regions, maybe a dusting. So not very heavy totals here. Northern Vermont, maybe several inches of snow from this over the next 24 hours. The entire state of New Hampshire, widespread 1 to 2 inches of snow if you're not high up in elevation. But you get a little bit higher up in the higher just mountain ranges, and just once you get a few thousand feet up, I mean, someone could sneak in a half a foot of snow, maybe 8 to 12 inches of snow, depending on where you are. So, this is what it's looking like for that. And then we look at the state of Maine. This goes through between now and tomorrow, 8 p.m. So this does cover the entire duration of the storm I just spoke on. Caribou could get 8 to 12 inches of snow. I think that's pronounced maybe Hulton, 6 to 8 inches of snow. The down east areas of Maine, I think you'll get what we call dry slotted, but could get widespread 1 to 2 inches of snow. There's a sharp cutoff, like Bangor, 6 to 8 inches of snow is possible, and lighter accumulations once you get into western Maine, but still a few inches of wet snow is possible. Winds could be whipping, especially as this low begins to deepen over New Hampshire and Maine. So, widespread, 30 to as much as 50 mile per hour wind gusts are possible, especially if you obviously live on some hills of some higher mountaintops up here in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. Definitely some gusty winds are possible in the Berkshires. Power outages, it's very possible. But definitely some gusty winds. I mean, some gusty winds just along this cold front that kind of sweeps through the Northeast today. Definitely could get some 30 to 35, 40 mile per hour winds. So be careful with that for sure. South Central U.S. starting to this morning, nothing really going on. Very weak kind of impulsive energy kind of moves over this region right here. This will pop off some thunderstorms around like Woodward and just western Oklahoma. There could be more widespread thunderstorms sort of like east of Amarillo. Very possible here in southwestern sections of Oklahoma. Also, a little bit of moisture might, show itself here in southeastern Texas. This green could be in the form of thunderstorms. But guys, this marginal risk today, I think the biggest risk will probably be some gusty winds, maybe some hail. Certainly possible with this. But, you notice we don't get much thunderstorm development down here on this marginal risk. I think these storms will begin to develop as we get well after midnight tonight. So if you're in Houston, even over the Austin, San Antonio, down to Corpus Christi, kind of that circle, that region, I almost call it a circle, almost like the triangle down here in this area, could get some thunderstorms, I would say, in the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning, and then they will last all the way through tomorrow, where we have a separate severe weather risk that we'll talk about. The north central U.S. today, really just going to focus on the Great Lakes snow event. You're going to see some blue show up on your screen over here. We'll talk more heavily on that in a different timestamp here. But lake effect snow will continue to fall, especially in the central to eastern UP of Michigan, at least the first 12 hours of the day. And really, it'll stay in that area. We'll get some just kind of lines of snow that will kind of just be drifting about throughout central and northern lower Michigan. But, eastern UP of Michigan region will consistently get bands all day, and several more inches of snow will add up, and this will continue. And then we start to see that stripe of snow kind of moving through North Dakota, starts to ooze into Minnesota. But we'll speak more on that here in a second. I know I've said that about a million times. I think I say that multiple times a video. But we start to take it into tomorrow morning. I think these bands of snow will begin to taper off, or at least become more isolated to certain areas. Okay, but between now and the next 30 hours or so, another several more inches of snow is possible in the central and UP and eastern UP in Michigan. A few inches of snow is possible in northern lower Michigan. But someone could squeeze in another 8 inches of snow just over the next 24 hours. It's very possible. The western U.S., we're finally done for the most part. We'll try to fire up some moisture once again, kind of in the Four Corners region. But guys, not a big deal at all. Little bit of shower activity into western Oregon, off the Pacific, and even western Washington state. But here's that piece of energy. You see the snow that begins to fly around more consistently later on today in North Dakota. You see that light to at times moderate snow. And then we start to get some more maybe moderate to heavy snow in the northeast corner of Montana later today. And then all the way into tomorrow morning, we start to get an all-out snow event in northern and northeastern sections of Montana. It begins to snow a lot more heavily up here in North Dakota. So we'll speak on that here in a minute. But snowfall just between now and the next 24 hours. Okay, it's still snowing when waking up tomorrow morning. Just now in the next 24 hours, widespread 1 to maybe as much as 3-inch snowfall totals. Just a couple inches of snow tonight here in North Dakota, even areas of northern South Dakota. But this is just between right now until tomorrow morning. Really, this will fall tonight. But, widespread 2 to 4-inch snowfall totals in northeast Montana with more to come. Temperatures, there's a nice little boundary over the Ohio Valley and the Midwest and areas of the Mississippi Valley. So nice day in the Mid-South, point south to the Gulf coastline, south central U.S., widespread 70s type temperatures. You get up to the Northeast, it warms up ahead of this cold front. So, you might sneak in, someone hit 50 degrees in southern New England today. You make your way west. If you're traveling west in New England today, get ready because you'll run into some snow squalls with dropping temperatures. The Great Lakes region, after a very warm February and early March, you're starting to get cold here in late March. But widespread sub-freezing temperatures where you start to see the blue here. But even a chilly day in the Midwest for sure. We start to move into the western U.S. All the cold air is bottled up here. I mean, it's going to be much warmer in western Montana than it will be in like northeastern Montana. Will be locked below freezing. But the entire western U.S., I mean, a nice day. I mean, widespread 80s starting to show up in the southwest. But it's going to cool down a little bit more compared to the last couple of days in the Pacific Northwest with a little bit of moisture moving in. So let's move in. Separate panel for my folks tuning in from Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas. All right, let's kind of start off where we left off. So we're moving past this. We're getting a couple of days ahead of us now. Snow will be falling up here tomorrow. And it will try to increase as we start to get into late tomorrow morning and then tomorrow afternoon. You start to see the darker blue showing up, widespread light to moderate snow flying around across Montana. And you see this low, that's what's responsible for all this precipitation on top. So we start to take it into late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. You got more of a consolidated area of moderate to at times heavy snow that looks like it's falling on the European and areas of northeast Montana and southern North Dakota. Okay, but you keep this going and this begins to start to show some heavier snow. You see these darker blues right in here. All right, and then this continues snowing pretty good in like northern Montana. It's starting to move into Minnesota at this point. And then by the time we get into Friday morning, we'll get a little bit of a break. Okay, and then we'll start to eye another big storm. So I know that's a quick hitter, right? I mean, this kind of moves into Dakotas late tonight. Quick shot of moderate to heavy snow. I think there'll be some sharp cutoffs and snow. And then by the time you get into Friday morning, it's about done. So how much snow after tomorrow morning are we expecting? Let's check out the entire duration of the event. Because it's going to be snowing at such chilly temperatures, that little quick hitting shot of snow is going to add up. Some areas could get over 6 inches of snow in southern and southeastern sections of North Dakota. And a few inches of snow is possible, mainly, I would say, in the northeastern sections of South Dakota. And then we could get widespread, I would say 3 to 4 to almost 7 inches of snow here in northern and northeast Montana. A little bit of snow in the Bighorn Mountains and just the higher elevations of the Rockies, like Yellowstone National Park and southern Montana, just with a lift, but not as much for sure. A little bit of snow here in the Rockies of Colorado too. Just a quick hitting, in some cases you'll get a half a foot of snow, especially in sections of northern Montana and southern North Dakota. And then that same energy will start off Thursday evening. Tomorrow evening begins to move into really take over the rest of Minnesota, right? I know I kind of left some areas kind of hanging as far as getting detailed in western Minnesota. We'll kind of do it all again tonight, so stay put with me. But we get into later tomorrow evening, some snow begins to move into Minneapolis, an area that really is snow-starved, has not received a whole lot, And we could get a band of moderate snow that moves somewhere over Minneapolis, starts to move into western sections of Wisconsin. And then this could really increase as this kind of weaker low becomes a little stronger. And we could get a wintry mix that starts to fall in areas of like northern Iowa, where you're closer to the kind of that warm nose created by that low pressure. Warm nose meaning a warm area of air aloft that kind of prevents more of just snow falling and more of a wintry mix. We'll speak more on that when we need to. But by the time we move into Friday morning, we got an all-out quick-hitting winter storm for areas of even northern Iowa. You know, the heaviest stuff begins to move out of Minneapolis. You're still dealing with some light snow. You kind of have two areas where they kind of combine, but it's snowing pretty good in Green Bay. It's snowing pretty good in like Milwaukee. Starts off with some snow in northern Illinois. Chicago, could you get a quick couple inches from this? National Weather Service not buying much. But this continues, and there is the possibility for really a thin corridor. You see it here? This is getting a little bit deeper into Friday morning. A very heavy snow that could fall, like I said, in like northeastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, maybe the extreme northern counties of Illinois, like Janesville. Watch out, Milwaukee. And then this starts to ooze into lower Michigan. And, we can't ignore the light snow up here in the UP and Michigan, northern areas of Wisconsin. That will add in a couple additional accumulations, snowfall accumulations of what you've already seen over the last few days. But this continues, guys. And I'll be honest, this really almost tries to bullseye the southern areas of Wisconsin. This could change a little bit. Milwaukee. And then look at the snow falling midday and Friday, a very snowy Friday across the Great Lakes region. Definitely. And then, it's still snowing in areas of, it really wants to keep it all snow for the most part in northern Illinois. We'll take a little bit closer look at the short range models because they'll be almost in view completely, not of the entire storm, but a good chunk of the storm for the Great Lakes region. But we'll continue to keep this moving Friday evening. And this, for the most part, begins to head on out of Wisconsin and Illinois. And then we'll continue to snow here in lower Michigan as we get into Friday evening. And then this finally heads on out by the time we get into Saturday morning. So, this is a snowfall that we just talked about, what's going to happen between now and Thursday evening. But check out this swath of quick-hitting snow. This is between now and Friday evening. Guys, they're going for over a half a foot snowfall totals in central Wisconsin. And you notice a lot of heavy snow wasn't showing up in Wisconsin, but I think it'll be snowing in such cold temperatures. This little bit of snow is going to add up. And a lot of times these systems tend to kind of get more amplified and trend a little bit further north in time. But, widespread, 6 to 10 inch snowfall totals showing up in central sections of lower Michigan. Wisconsin into lower Michigan could be the bullseye from this. So definitely an appreciable, quick hitting late season winter storm for you folks. Minneapolis, could get a few inches. So let's kind of zoom into a couple of these areas. Unfortunately for my folks in lower Michigan, I don't have any great graphics for you except this. They haven't upgraded them. But Minneapolis are going for a quick 3 to 5 inches of snow. You get on over to kind of southeastern sections of Minnesota, 2 to 6 inches of snow in Rochester. Eau Claire, I know you guys have corrected me about 3 million times on the name. So, if I mispronounce it again, I do apologize. Just keep correcting me, guys. That's all I ask. Repetition helps. But 4 to 6 inches there. Madison, 4 to 7 inches of snow. This is further south, so definitely pause the screen if you need to there. We continue to move a little bit further. And we get into kind of the northeastern sections of Wisconsin, Green Bay, 6 to 8 inches of snow from this, guys. So I know you're thinking, well, this isn't that much for winter standards up here, but we're starting to get later in March. Okay, but then we move a little bit further south, Milwaukee. The totals could increase down here. I could see it happening. All right, 2 to 5 inches of snow in Milwaukee. Madison, 2 to 6 here. Janesville only going for 2 to 4 inches, but I could see some of these areas increasing. So we'll see what happens. Now, there's going to be a severe weather risk for tomorrow, too. Kind of a different system. Tornado threats will be a 2% risk along the Gulf Coast line of Texas and Louisiana. This includes Corpus Christi to Houston, almost said Corpus Crispy, all the way to New Orleans. Okay? Wind threat 5%, hail threat 5%. I could see this increasing to a slight risk. We'll see what happens. We're not going to spend long on this, but I will kind of start it where we left off in Texas. You're already dealing with some thunderstorms, I think, tomorrow morning in eastern and south and southern areas of Texas. As we start to move deeper into the morning, we'll start to get widespread thunderstorms, some nasty storms showing up off the coastline of Texas. But look at all these widespread thunderstorms right in here in eastern Texas. A lot of rain potential, and these will continue. And then look at how these storms form right here in central Texas. These could produce some hail. They could produce some tornadoes, especially closer to the immediate Texas coastline. But definitely, at minimum, there will not be an issue with fire and storms tomorrow. So definitely a stormy day tomorrow in central and eastern and even southeastern Texas. So go on and get prepared for this. And we could have a kind of an intense line of storms that's ongoing late tomorrow night through southeastern and eastern Texas. So we'll speak more on that over the next couple of videos. But this, to kind of finish this off with the eastern U.S., kind of same system that we just talked about for the Great Lakes region. And then there's a system down here we need to speak on. Northern stream energy, southern stream energy. Now watch what happens as we move further into this. Snow flying around across southern Ontario again. We kind of already spoke on the snow for lower Michigan. But look at all this widespread rain, late Friday night across all of the deep south, the southeast. This is just here to ruin everybody's Friday night plans and Saturday plans. We're starting to move into, after midnight Friday night into the wee hours of the morning Saturday. We got another winter storm moving in to areas of the interior Northeast. Not cold enough for like New York City or Boston. But we could have some icing with this too. And we keep this going. And this is going to be just a washout you're waking up to Saturday morning, almost across the entire eastern U.S. But look at this heavy snow up here in the colder side of this. And we keep this going. And I'm telling you, this could deliver several inches of snow in the interior Northeast. I mean, this is after what you're about to deal with over the next 24 to 48 hours. But look at this low right in here. This is just, the rain is continuing. We're getting into Saturday. We're taking all the way into Saturday evening. We could have another kind of piece of energy that kind of amplifies the moisture again for Georgia, Carolinas. And guys, I will speak on this, but I don't have a panel up for it. But Florida could have a severe weather threat for Friday. We'll speak more on that when we know a little bit more. But look at this long duration event for like Maine. And then as the cold air kind of moves in, we could have a period of winter weather for southern New England as we're getting into late Saturday night and a Sunday morning. We'll watch for that, and this could become a bigger system for Atlantic Canada as we're getting into late weekend to early next week. And I won't leave you guys hanging. I'll talk more on that when we know more. But between now and the end of the weekend, guys, this is going to fall mainly Friday through Sunday. We got a washout coming. 1 to 2 inches of rain. Once you start to get a little bit further up northeast, 2 to 3 inches of rain. So I don't know what's up with it raining every Friday and Saturday for areas of the southeast, but it has been an awful trend over the last few weeks. Terrible. We're supposed to be at Game 5 for our soccer season, and we're not even going to get in Game 3, which is supposed to be Game 5 this weekend. So, wild stuff, weird timing, just bad luck, I guess. But the weather's going to do what the weather's going to do. You guys know that. I know that. But this is what's kind of going to happen at the end of this week. That heads off. This is in 48-hour increments. As soon as this signal heads off, here comes that other winter storm that we just showed you as we're getting into Saturday morning and just Saturday in general. And this is a solid signal over the weekend, basically, the entire weekend, for a several-inch snowfall event. Some areas could get over a foot. Widespread, and you see in these purple areas, the pink, 6 to 12 inches of snow, especially for Vermont, New Hampshire, and areas in Maine. And then this heads on out. Okay, so definitely a solid signal. And to wrap all this up, okay, there's another system coming. Those are kind of small to medium events compared to maybe what's to come. So we'll kind of start off Saturday in the western U.S. I think Saturday is going to be very active in the western U.S. too. Higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. Snow levels will not be low with this system. All right, so basically those favorite areas, the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, Rockies, or get snow from this. We could have the snow levels a little bit lower here on the northern and northeastern side of the Rockies and Montana. But this looks like another winter storm potentially for Montana as we're getting into Saturday and Sunday. All right, moisture could be there for California, all down the California coastline. Okay, Northern Cal all the way to San Diego as we're getting through our Sunday. And then you start to get surface low development here, and then the moisture could really amplify across the central Rockies, even southern Rockies. Just moisture everywhere, and then you can see the darker blues here. This is turning into a more significant event, and then that moves into the central U.S. Then another system moves in that we're not going to speak on. But then we start to shift to the central U.S. Okay, we'll have to go back to that, and here comes this system. This is the same system. We got rid of the other ones. Check it out. We're getting into Saturday evening. Look at that heavy snow showing up across the Dakotas. Heavy snow in areas of Iowa, Minnesota. Low right in here. Heavy rocky snow. I'll have to watch Denver in this setup. And then we start to get into, I'm getting a little bit too far ahead, Sunday evening. It starts to get more widespread. Kind of multiple pieces of energy here. Initial one goes right here. All right. And then this kind of gets bogged down, spins around, and then another stronger low develops here. But this is delivering a lot of heavy snow from maybe, Colorado to Nebraska, the Dakotas, all the way to Minnesota, maybe even like Wisconsin. Okay, and this continues, guys. I mean, Monday morning, big event. Could have severe weather on the southern end of this too. And this continues to spin around. We're getting into Monday evening. Look at this heavy snow, these darker shades of blue. With the kind of the placement of this low, you could switch from rain to snow sometime in Minneapolis, sometime maybe Monday. And then this finally ejects off into another country, up into Canada. Okay? And then we got to watch what happens after that. But we really got to focus in on what's to come. So this is the snow signal. This is the snow signal for what we just spoke on kind of earlier in the video. That moves on off. This is some 48-hour periods. Then you see all the snow begin to show up for the central and northern Rockies, Cascades, Sierra Nevada. And then you see this area right into here begin to show up. Look how that huge snow signal shows up for the north central U.S., the northern plains, even the central plains. All right, and then it moves into Canada. A little bit closer look at this at the blend of all models, right? First signal for snow that we spoke on earlier in the video. Second signal. Wow. That is a huge jump up in snowfall totals for the system late this weekend into early next week. You got areas showing up almost over 3 feet of snow between all the systems. And this is 85% of this is this second system. Okay, but there is a little bit of a signal of snow as far south as Kansas. Look at the Dakotas. Look at Montana. So definitely a big winter storm coming up. And of course, typically in this time of the year when you have a big winter storm up here, with low pressures that are basically cutting across the middle of the country, you're always going to present the opportunity for a moisture return out the Gulf of off the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, out of the Gulf of Mexico. Losing some steam here. So we're getting into Sunday, little bit of surface moisture, not much, nothing appreciable at all. Could change. And then we start to move into our Monday afternoon. A little bit better of a warm, moist sector showing up across areas of Texas, Louisiana, into southern Arkansas. We got to watch Monday for a severe weather threat in this area right into here. If you have the really good overlapping ingredients, you have a severe weather threat. And of course, we need to watch later into the week too. Guys, that's all I got. Stay tuned for tonight. We'll keep you covered. God bless all y'all and have a wonderful Wednesday.